Things between the US and Iran have escalated, and fast. Over just the past 5 days, we've been hit with a tidal wave of headlines and reports. Honestly, it's a lot to keep track of. So in this explainer, we're going to hit pause, slow things down, and piece together what's actually been going on, based on the reports coming from the ground.
So what is the real story here? After 5 straight days of conflict, what do we actually know? To figure that out, we really need to dig into what both sides are claiming, what's happening on the ground, and of course, where this whole thing might be headed.
All right, to get our heads around the sheer scale of this, let's start with the official line from the U.S. side of things. The United States Central Command, CENTCOM, has put out some numbers that, well, they paint a picture of an absolutely massive military operation.
First off, just look at this number. We're talking about nearly 2,000 targets hit inside Iran. And let's be really clear here. These aren't just a few little surgical strikes. This is a full-blown, large-scale air campaign we're watching unfold.
And it's not just in the air either. Out at sea, the U.S. is claiming to have taken out 17 Iranian naval vessels. The CENTCOM commander even said that right now, not a single Iranian ship is sailing. I mean, that's basically saying a full naval blockade is in effect.
And the force behind all this? It's huge. We're talking over 50,000 U.S. troops, 200 fighter jets, a couple of aircraft carriers, plus bombers. This is not a small engagement by any stretch of the imagination. It's a massive military commitment.
In this quote from the CENTCOM commander, it really just ties it all together. From the U.S. perspective, after just 5 days, the result is total air superiority. They believe they have completely taken away Iran's ability to defend its own skies.
Okay, so that's the U.S. claim, total dominance. But what does the actual fighting look like on the ground? Let's dive into the back and forth, the tit-for-tat strikes that are really at the heart of this conflict.
You know, what's really striking when you look at this is the symmetry of it all. It's almost like a mirror image. On one side, you've got the U.S. and Israel hitting major Iranian cities, trying to dismantle the country's military capabilities. And then on the other side, you have Iran firing back with what they claim are hundreds of missiles and thousands of drones, mostly aimed right at Tel Aviv.
Now make no mistake, this is not a contained war. Not even close. This thing is rapidly spilling across borders, it's pulling in neighboring countries, and it's igniting secondary fights all across the entire region.
And you can see just how fast this is all spreading. I mean, look at this. You've got Israel ordering evacuations and hitting targets near Beirut in Lebanon. Then you have both Saudi Arabia and Kuwait shooting down drones and missiles. And even out at sea, a ship gets hit off the coast of the UAE. Suddenly, the whole region is on a knife's edge.
And all of this has a very, very real human cost. We're seeing reports of casualties from Israeli strikes in Lebanon. Meanwhile, sirens are blaring constantly in northern Israel because Hezbollah has now jumped into the fight. And then over in Iraq, you've got airstrikes hitting militias with ties to Iran. So this isn't just one conflict anymore, it's a tangled web of interconnected battlefields.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at what's happening back in the United States. How is Washington gearing up for what could be a long, drawn-out fight? Well, it looks like they're putting the country's entire defense industry on a war footing.
And the key thing to see here is it's all about speed. Top defense CEOs are being called into the White House. The Pentagon is already asking for a whopping $50 billion to restock the arsenal. And then there's a pretty clear threat being made: if you don't build weapons faster, there are going to be consequences. This is exactly what it looks like when a government puts its economy on a war footing.
And on the political front, it seems like the administration has key support locked in. The Speaker of the House is framing this as a limited and decisive mission. And you can see in this quote, he's basically warning everyone else that any attempt to slow the president down is dangerous and irresponsible. That signals a pretty united front in Washington, at least for the time being.
So after these chaotic 5 days, we're left with 2 completely different stories. One story is about American dominance, and the other is about Iranian defiance. And that brings us to the war of words, which is probably going to define what happens next.
And here's that counter-narrative coming straight from Tehran. A former commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is out there claiming that Iran's capabilities are actually superior, and that the U.S. and Israel simply can't handle more than a month of their strikes. It's a message of pure confidence, a vow to outlast their enemies.
And that leaves us with the critical, unanswered question. You have one side claiming victory is already in hand, and the other promising a long and brutal fight. They can't both be right. The real question is, what happens when these 2 clashing realities collide in a region that's already on fire?